Hey guys, welcome back to the exciting episode of YOML. Today's episode, Reflection 287, is about wine war. So a book called Wine War, the French, the Nazi, and the Battle of France, the Battle for France's Greatest Treasure by Donald Kladstrup.
Cla Kladstrup.
Kladstrup.
So it sounds like a German. This book's about exactly like what it says. It's about during World War II, the fight of the hidden fight that French winemakers put up against after the Nazis in Germany, invaded France and turned that into an occupied territory like in early 1940. And they started to take all their resources, and part of those resources that France loves is wine, and Germany loves France's wine. So they definitely abused it and forced them
And
to
listen,
continue
everybody.
it was an interesting book. It was because it was about the wine producers and how they fought like a silent fight. They did everything they could to sabotage and protect France's vineyards and remarkable vintages and things like that, and keep their meaningful work safe, right? So this reflection is about meaningful work is always worth the fight. So I got to go into story time for this one. Not that these are always not story time, but this one in particular is a fun story. So my wife and I have been blessed in our life to be able to travel and visit new places in this world. One of those places we've been a couple times now is France. And I love France. I really do. It's one of my favorite places I've ever been in my life. You ever been to France?
No, I don't think so.
Well, tonight we're celebrating with some wine for this one too, by the way.
But like we said, before this, it has nothing to do with the the reflection.
I strategically was like, oh, I'll go pour a glass of wine before this one. But my wife and I have, like I was saying, have been blessed enough to be able to visit France before. And I'm also a wine enthusiast, obviously, clearly. I like to drink it. I love great wine. I love French wine. It's amazing. I love any kind of wine, really, to be honest with you. My love of wine, I took wine appreciation back in college, which is an actual course. My wife and I, all of our travels that we've gone on, we always end up going to different vineyards and things like that all over the world. It's just something that we love to do. And it's something that her and I can connect on, which is great. There's very little things that her and I love to do together that are both things that we enjoy. And wine is one of those things. And that's fun. In 2018, I think it was that same, no, maybe 2019. I can't remember. Either 2018 or 2019. I can't remember. On one of our Euro trips, we went to Paris and we were having a blast. And one of the days we were there for, I can't remember how many days, like 4 or 5 days or something like that. On one of the days, we were like, hey, you want to take a day trip to the Burgundy wine country, which if you know anything about Burgundy wine country, do you know anything about Burgundy wines?
No. Why?
Fair. So there's like 3 really, really, really famous wine regions in France. Champagne is one of those. Obviously, you know what Champagne is. Bordeaux. You ever heard of Bordeaux? Like Bordeaux wines. So like Bordeaux is another really famous region for like Bordeaux reds. Very heavy, bold Cabernets and things like that. And then Burgundy is really famous for its Pinot Noirs and a little bit more Chardonnay. I think is another big thing in Burgundy. But Burgundy is probably like. Burgundy is like how is it described usually as? It's like oh my gosh, how would I describe Burgundy versus like Bordeaux? Bordeaux is like you go into like a nice steakhouse like in New York City that's like, you think like rich, wealthy, decadent, like dark wood. Burgundy is more like poppy, more like the alternative people, a little bit more of like the creative people, the fun vibe kind of world. Like that's kind of how Burgundy is. Like Bordeaux is like very serious and old school, and Burgundy is like fun and hip and like and like whatever. That's kind of how the different regions are. So my wife and I, we've always been a huge fan of Pinot Noirs in particular. And when we were in Paris, we were like, hey, we should go to Burgundy. It's only like an hour and a half train ride away from Paris, and one of the main like towns in the heart of Burgundy is this little town called Bonn. Beaune, Bonn. And we were like, hey, let's go check it out. There's a bunch of vineyards around there, like a bunch of like it seems like a really cool little tiny town. It's like a little tiny village in like rural France. And we were like, let's do it. So we buy some tickets on a train one day, and we hop on. We depart early in the morning. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning when we got on this train out to Bonn. We arrive at the train station in Bonn, and it's just like a one-stop little town. You just get off there. It's just like a stop on the train, right? So we get off at the train depot area, and we're like, where is everybody? There's like nobody here. It's like a ghost town. And we're like, what is going on with this place? We didn't know where to go. So we just got our phones out and we're like, okay, where do we go? The city center is like this way. So we're like, okay, we'll just follow there's got to be something going on somewhere in the city, whatever. Like it's this tiny little village, and we're like, okay, let's just go hoof it another mile away or wherever the hell it is, so we get to the city center. So we're walking along. It's like 10 minutes into our walk, and we're like, we haven't seen a soul, like a single person. Nobody's out. We're like, what the hell is this place? I mean, we were really confused. We were like, what is going on? And eventually, about maybe like 15, 20 minutes after we've been walking, we start to hear this like music playing. It's like this accordion playing. And we're like, what the hell's that? So we turn the corner, and there's like this group of like 4 musicians that are, standing on the street corner playing accordions together and making music. And one of them's doing other stuff. And we're like, that's kind of cool. Like, interesting. So we keep walking, and then like we turn like left right after we like, these are like really winding, narrow streets. They're not like, it's not like a traditional city. It's like it's a medieval town, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And we keep walking toward the city center, and we're like winding around the little cobblestone streets and stuff like that. And we turn to the next corner, and the city center opens up, and there's like this big public square. This public square is filled with tons of people. It's like this big farmer's market going on, and there's just every meat and cheese and vegetable and fruit and bread and olives. You can just go up and take olives off of people's food carts and test them out, and cheeses everywhere and wine everywhere, and there's commerce going on, little street vendors selling clothes and stuff. And we're like, holy shit, we're like, this is where everybody in the town is, right? No, it was every Saturday they do this, apparently. We just happened to get there right at that time on Saturday morning, when it was going on, right? So we're like in heaven. We're just like eating cheese all over the place and eating little meat samples and buying things here and there and buying olives to take back to our, and dude, it was so good. The food was so good. And we're like walking around like, this place is like magic, man. It was like this magical experience for the next couple hours. And we're like, okay, well, what do we do now? We're like, we're in the heart of Burgundy. We want to drink some more wine. So right next to the city center is this little hospice. It's called the Hospice de Bonne. That's this famous medieval hospice that people that were sick with plague and whatever else would come to this place. And it's like a really beautiful building that the nuns would take care of, and the sick people, so you can tour around it. We did a quick tour right after we were done, feasting on all the farmers market stuff. And then we drank a little bit more wine, went into a couple tasting rooms, and got some private tastings with some people in Burgundy. And they gave us like all the lessons of Burgundy, and we're loving life. And then we're like, oh, it's time to eat. Now we're like really hungry, right? It's like 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. now, and we're like, what do we do for dinner? Well, we literally turned around. This is no joke. Turned around, and like there was 3 Michelin-starred restaurants within, like, I could spit on all 3 of them from where we were standing at that exact moment. You're like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, there's just, okay, where do we want to eat?
How do you choose?
We didn't actually. What we ended up doing was right across from one of them was this like underground wine cave that had like charcuterie boards and cheese and tastings or whatever. You can go into this like wine cave and go. We said we didn't want to go sit down for like a nice, food. So we just went into this like wine cave and had the charcuterie board and did more tasting and like loving life. Like it was a magical day, right? And it reminds me of just how awesome French food and wine is. Not just like a thing, it's not just like wine, right? It's not
art.
This is
what we're saying. Everyone is art. And so when you are, and especially that's what I was saying is, the town you describe is essentially just that, because these people are in the middle of the wine country, and that's what they do. And so that's their livelihood. That's their art. You really can't make them do anything else.
I got to give you a visual of this place. So this is the Hospice de Bonne, right off the city square. This is the city square. So you like walked in, opened up there. There was just nothing but like food trucks and carts and everything all over the place, and meat and cheeses everywhere. And like this is here. I'll even probably show you. What do you call the food, like farmers market? This is it. This is literally it. We walk into this thing where it's just like,
oh really? Okay.
Like this is like, it was the middle. We just turned a corner, and then there's just tons of people and this massive farmers market, and like just food everywhere and meat and cheese everywhere. And like, I mean, this is what it looks like. I mean, this is literally there's just it's unreal. I mean, it was like the weather was beautiful. Like, I mean, it was just so cool. Accordions playing and music playing all over the place. The Hospice de Bonne is right off the corner of it, and it's just unreal, right? So they have this every weekend there, and so I'm just giving you a visual place. Does this look pretty appealing? It's like this little medieval town,
Yeah, it does. I mean, it looks cozy. I mean, I like this kind of, it's like the Mexican fisherman like village that I imagine, so you walk through, city center, it's just one of those things where people are enjoying life. To me, that's what made me feel.
It's exactly what it is. And you see like how this looks like. So this is like the surrounding area of everything. So I'm no joking. You get off at the bus stop and you're just like, we're like walking around through basically like a village, and there's like nobody out because they're all at the farmer's market. We're like, what is this place? We're just like wandering around, you know? And anyway, so the reason why I share all this, you already knew where I was going with this. Like, this is their art. This is when you go to France, like you can hear it in my voice. Like, this was like a magical day that I will never forget. My wife will never forget it. Like, I still, every time that I even think about it, just seeing those images made me want to go back there, like right now, like, and go.
Makes me want to go.
Right. I mean, you don't even like wine, you know, like
I don't like wine, but I like the cozy. I like the farmer's market. I mean, I like the cheese. I can't drink wine, but I like the cheese.
Oh my God, the cheese in France is just so good. Yeah. The food and wine in France is like.
And I am what you call a food addict. Like different sort of texture, taste, and smell. I love food. Unfortunately, I can't drink wine because I have this inability to process the alcohol, but otherwise I probably would love wine as well. It's just that I couldn't do it, but I love everything else about food and drink.
Well, then you should go eat your way through France and you'll never be unhappy. I can promise you that. Like, I mean, it is like just anywhere in France. It's just the best cuisine ever.
Yeah, I will probably gourd all the cheeses. It's like,
and to be clear, like, I'm Italian. I love Italian food as well. But Italians have nothing on French food. In my personal opinion, I love Italian food, but the pastries, the cheese, the wine, the everything else, pound for pound, French food is just like, there's nowhere I've ever eaten in my life where I'm just like, oh my God, I could eat here all day. I would eat anything all day, every day here. The fresh fruits, the vegetables.
To tell me, because the French occupied Vietnam for quite a while. There's a huge influence, French influence. And this is why the South Vietnamese, like, they have this different mindset than the Northern, right? That's why we have this conflict between the Northern and South. But the South, that's what they do. Like, we're talking about siesta in the middle of the day. Because like I told you, in Vietnam, like even today, if you go to Vietnam, it's like New York City, like, because you're in Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon, whatever you want to call it. It's like New York City. But if you go out to the street around 12 to 1 o'clock or something like that, you will see nobody.
Interesting.
Because they're all asleep. We got that from we get it from France. We have a lot of stuff from France. We got the banh mi, right? The banh mi is from France, like the baguette, right? A lot of the food, a lot of the food that we enjoy, that we crave and addicted today, is French influence. So French, they do have their art, and
they have their art. And the Germans loved their art, and they tried to steal their art when they were. But this is where the coolest part about this whole book was like, this is our fucking art. You know, fuck you, motherfuckers. Like, get out of here. Like, you can take our land. I don't really care, but you're not taking our wine. You're not taking our cheeses. You're not taking our stuff.
And the art. They literally hide the art. Like the paintings, they actually try to hide them.
They risked their lives to screw around with the Germans, the big champagne houses, and, you know, like, they hid people. They did a lot of stuff. This book was really interesting, but it reminded me, you know, at the end of the day, I know you know exactly where I'm going with this, but that is their art, right? Like, this is who they are. And if we're not going to fight for our art, then what's the point of living? You know what I mean? Like, this is,
it's just like art. Saying, hey, don't be who you are. Don't fight for who you are. Say, hey, you may stop being Chris today. That's very hard, because at the end of the day, if you are not who you are, then, like you say, what's the point? It's nothing to live for. And so regardless of what it is that you do, it is something that is worth more to you than anything else. That's what we call that art, right? Exactly. To me, that means that you have found the art that you meant to express. If you don't, then, you know, you haven't found it yet. But once you found it, you wouldn't give it up for the world.
That's exactly the reflection is, you know, meaningful work is always worth giving everything you have to fight for the right to produce and share your art with the world. And if it isn't meaningful in the first place, right? For instance, if somebody said, hey, Chris, you got to fight for your right to be able to sell software for OSF Digital right now. Like, I'm going to steal it, and you're never going to have it. I would
like, okay, take it.
Can I pay you? I'll pay you to take it from me. You know what I mean?
No, that's not your art.
Exactly. Like, that's how most people, like, they might think of wine as like just some grape juice or whatever. It's not just grape juice. This is ancient history. This is tradition. This is farmers. This is the land. This is families. This is a way of life. This is how they've sustained themselves and fed themselves and entertained themselves. And, you know, like, this isn't just wine. This is so much more than that, you know. And like, when people look at it as just wine. Like, you know, the Germans don't really give a shit because they're not really into wine. They're like, you know, we like your wine. We love your art. Like, you know, we love what you produce. Like, keep producing it. And they're like, no, fuck you. No, we're not only that, I'm going to give you the shitty art. I mean, I'm not going to give you the good art. I mean, if somebody made you and I get on this podcast every single night, talk about what they wanted you to talk about, no, monkeys dance. Like, you know, we'd be like, we're going to give you the B stuff, maybe the C stuff. We're not giving you the A material. I mean, never. We will never give that to anybody that doesn't care about our art the way that we care about our art and for ourselves, right? You don't give away your art to people that don't give a shit about it. And also, you don't do it ever for somebody else telling you to do it. You do it because you love it. That is the only reason. Like, I mean, that is it.
You know, when you create something, you have that attachment, that connection to your creations, and that creations for you, it feels like the I guess you feel proud of what you produce. And
Yes.
that's something that you cannot trade for. And that's why a lot of times people can use that against you, and they can destroy your spirit if they can destroy your art. I mean, you get discouraged. So that's why, you know, you want to protect that art. Like, this is your creation. Your creation is an expression of who you are, right?
Yes.
And like you say, if you can't protect your creations, you can't be able to express who you are, can't express your art, then you're not you. If you're not you, then what's the point? There's no meaning, there's no fulfillment in your life. And that's basically, it boils down to the point. If once you have a taste of who you are, there is nothing in this world we can trump it. There's nothing in the world. I mean, you talking about like people talking about wine, you know, for me, you know, you say, hey, you know, true, you cannot eat any more steak, right? You know, you say, well, I'll fight you to the death for it. You look at America, right? This is why I keep saying people, hey, you know, people say, hey, you don't have a choice. I say, you do have a choice, liberty or death, but you have a choice. In America, freedom is our art, and so you can, we will fight you for it.
That is
right?
exactly right.
And so we're not going to give that away. So that to me is, once you found your art, there is nothing you will not give up for your art. Like I say, you know, liberty or death, but you have a choice. That means that, you know, you know, Patrick Henry said, you know, you well, I'll fight you for it. So that's what we as Americans are. So you take that similar to the French. And I like the French culture, because the French culture is like, they enjoy life more than anything else. They have the pros and cons in terms of how we judge them, but there's one thing you can't take away from them, is they love life. The French, they love life. I mean, I see it firsthand because, you know, they came to Vietnam and colonized Vietnam, and the influence, and we have taken over probably like 60% of our culture is French influence. Right. And so I see it firsthand. That is why there is a conflict between the South and North, because the mindset of the people in the South are completely opposite the North. The people who work in South, they play. And even then, the South, they prosper. They prosper so much that, you know, there's a lot of people in North are jealous. But the people in North work really hard, right? They work really hard. I mean, you can take any person from the South and North, right? The North, they work like twice or three times as hard as the South. But the South, this is what they do, is they, like I told you, the way I see it, you know, is because of Vietnam, they have shorter nights. So like around 6 a.m., the dawn, light comes to 5, 6. By the time 6 is like, it's nice, you go out there, you do a bunch of stuff. So from 6 to 9 a.m., what people do is, from those 3 hours, we go out there, we have breakfast, we have coffee, and we chit chat with the neighbor. We talk about going to the city center, and you do that for 3 hours. Then you go to work. You work from 9 to 11, right? And then from 11, you go to lunch, like a 2-hour lunch, from 11 to 1 o'clock, right? Sometime between there, and then so you have another meal with your friends. You have the coffee, you have the snacks, and whatever. And then from like 12:30 or 1 o'clock to 2, whatever, you have the siesta. Nobody's out there. Nobody's working. Right? And then what happens? You work from like 2 to 3, and then 4 o'clock you have the snacks time when you go out there. You get another cup of coffee, and then you work until like 5 o'clock and 5, 6 o'clock. Right? I'm talking about, you work about 5 hours total.
It sounds way better than what we do. I mean,
but
that sounds awesome.
It's so fun because everybody gets together, because everybody's happy when they're enjoying the life, right? And so, like I said, you know, from They work from like 2 to 4 or something like that, and then after 4 or 5, they go out and have another snack and have another coffee, whatever. Like that's what they eat constantly all day long. And then what happened is after they get out around maybe 5 or 6, they go home for a bit, and then at 9 p.m. they go out and party again until like 1 a.m. and then they come back. This is the life in Saigon, in Ho Chi Minh City. That's a life,
awesome.
right? And this is what I mean. It's like at night, like you want any noodles, like at 4 a.m. you can have it, 6 a.m. you have it. It's all night. And like you said, the New York City, the city that never sleeps. It's the same thing over there, but that's the influence of the French. I mean, they love life, and the South Vietnamese, we embrace that culture. And they have fun. And you go to Vietnam, right? Everybody is really, really nice to you. Why are they nice to you? Because they love their life. They're not angry at anyone. They're happy. They don't have any, like right now because of the suppressions of the communists and whatnot. But even then, they still happy, even though the communists took all the money and whatever. But they're still happy because that's the culture. They love their life, and so the reason why they're not angry with you because they have nothing to be angry about.
They will fight you for that. I mean, isn't that what the fucking war was about? Like, I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like it was a different clash of cultures.
You can't change because the communists has taken over since 1975 and into today. You go to Saigon, even though they took over Saigon City and we name it Ho Chi Minh City and whatever, but the culture is still exactly the same. It hasn't changed. You can't change it. They can't change what people believe in.
I agree. You said something earlier that's fascinating because it sounds really fun, honestly, and that's more in line with a balanced life, is what it sounds like for me.
I think this is what we call meaningful, right?
It is.
When it's meaningful, it's like you do what makes you happy, what makes you enjoy life, versus because it's not about the money per se. Because in the past, like yes, the South Vietnamese have a lot of money because it's commerce and they grow and whatever. It's booming, it's prosper. But when the communists took over, right, they suppressed them. They took all the profits out. They sucked them dry. But you can't stop them. They still have their fun, and they still do what they need to do. And like I said, it's, to me, it is pretty aligned with the image of the Mexican fisherman that I keep telling you about. This is what people do. It's like, hey, now I like my life. Work is just part of life, but it's not the most important thing. Just like you say, if somebody would say, "Hey, Chris, you can't do your software sales anymore," say, "Okay, it wasn't what I mean. I can do it because
I'm good." No. You take it and you go do whatever.
I'll help you. How you take it?
I will help. It's almost like comical how quickly I would give that away, But like, I think you said something really cool about America in general, of just like who we are and what our meaningful work is. And you said, if you try to take away our freedom, we will fight you for it. I'm just now wrapping up the Bono autobiography. I still have a couple hours left on it, but he said something the other day when I was listening to him talk about America that really reminded me of what you just said. He talks a lot about America in this book. Honestly, to the point in time where I'm like, bro, you're not American. Like you're Irish. Like, I mean,
but the thing is, that's the way I feel as well, because I resonate with the American culture. So if there's war, I will fight for America, right? I will fight for the freedom. I mean, like I said,
but you live in America. You are American. Like, he's not American. He lives in Dublin. He lives in Paris. He has a
but that's the thing is, I'm the Mexican fisherman, right? I'm not Mexican. I'm not in Mexico. Right. Nor my friends, but I look at that picture and say, that feels like home, So it's not so much about the locality. It's about the mindset of, is it aligned with with the culture and whatnot. Back to the balance question, back to the core values question. When your core values align, right, then it feels right. Hey, that's where I belong. You feel belong. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. So Bono said, he goes, as an Irishman, and he's spent a lot of time in America, obviously touring. He spent a lot of time in our political world, trying to influence, certain things with like AIDS and AIDS relief and debt relief for African countries and stuff like that. He's spent a lot of time in DC, and he was saying, as he's gotten older, one of the things that he's noticed about America is he's like, there's two Americas. One's the practical America, where you're like figuring out how to just live day-to-day lives and, in the fray and all that other stuff. And he was like, and then the other America is the idea of America, of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And he's like, I don't think that people understand that. Like, I'm Irish. He goes, I'm Irish. There is no idea of Ireland. There is no idea of being English. There is an idea of being American. There's an ideal that we all go, Yeah, this is about freedom. Like, we're gonna fucking fight for that. Like, I don't care what happens on a day-to-day basis, but if you try to take away my freedom, like fuck you. Like, that's it. It's on, like, because I agree. I mean, you just said that to me 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago, whenever you said that.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're right. I would fight for that. And we do fight for that.
We will, and it's not a question. Like,
Right.
if you infringe on my freedom that I have a taste of, I ain't giving it away. I will fight you for it, right?
I'm not saying
I will give my life for it. It's not
Right.
ever happening. You come here with it, you're gonna have to walk over my dead body. I know how you're gonna be the one that's in the ground.
And that's our meaningful work as Americans, is fighting for freedom. I mean, that's really what it is, and for liberty, and for people to be able to be who they want to be. Like, in France, it's a little different. It's about food, wine. It's about, like the stuff that you talked about, of living a balanced existence, and their influence they've had on other cultures like Vietnamese and whatever else. But like, the point of the matter is your meaningful work of what you produce. The art that Americans produce in the world is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? I mean, you would agree with that? I mean, you're not from here, obviously, but you live here now, and you've been here for a very
Right,
long
but
time.
the thing is, that's the thing is, when you say
different.
that there's two type of America, right? The America that the people in the trench, and then there's America the ideal. This is why a lot of foreigners, they have a happier life in America than the people who born here, because the born here, they take things for granted. They say, hey, I'm entitled to this, entitled to that. We as foreigners, like, we live on the ideals. So the thing is, for me, it's like, hey, you can take away everything, and I will gladly live under a bridge, because the idea of America, you live that, as long as you give me, the freedom, right? The idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You give me that, I can endure anything. It doesn't matter to me, and I'll do that, because that's, to us, when we study America, because you're not American, right? You're not American from the get-go, so you need to know what America does. And so when you study America, that's the image that comes to you, the liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That comes to you, and you say, well, I want that.
Yes.
And then you start to live that. And when you do that, your life, regardless of, hey, this guy doesn't make much money, but he's happy as heck. Somebody making like $200K a year, and like they're depressed as hell.
Yeah.
And then somebody making $1 million, and his neighbor make $1 million, like $1.1 million, and he's like jealous and depressed as hell. It's like, my life is a wreck, and then they go and jump off the fucking building.
Right.
To me, that's the difference. Yeah. The difference is you understand who you are, and you want something, and as long as you have that core values protected, your art protected, there's nothing you cannot endure. And to me, that's why, if you understand the ideals of America, you will love America. To me, right now, it's like you're talking about, hey, all this politics, this and that, and all this debt ceiling. Say, well, to me, this is what I say to you. I mean, many times before. I have 4 kids, right? When my kids are fighting, I am happy, because you know why they're fighting? Because they are healthy, they are energetic, have all the energy in the world to fight. Because if they are sick, right, they cannot fight. When they clump together and be like huddled together, they're being suppressed by external forces. That's a big problem.
Good point.
But when they fight, right now, we as Americans, we fight each other on this and that, blah, 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 right? That means America is prospering.
We got some spunk, we got some spirit in us still. I mean, like, when the spirit gets sucked out of you.
But think about it. If you say, well, American is, fighting, you go ahead and you go and try to take away freedom.
America's wine, if you will, is guns. If somebody came over here and was like, hey, we're going to take all your guns from you, and we're just going to use them for whatever.
It's not gun, it's freedom, and gun is freedom.
Right.
It's
not a literal
necessary.
Gun. It's a metaphorical gun. It's in France, it's not literal wine. It's metaphorical. It's like, this is who we are. You can't take who we are from us and then expect us to just roll over and say, what, fine.
No.
Here, we'll just, like, how it works when it's meaningful to you, when you care, like, you fight, like, and you will fight till the death. Because we've talked about this so many times about what's the point, with the whole Darren Hardy entrepreneur roller coaster thing, and the guy's like,
missing the point.
Yeah,
right.
But like, this is the point. So like, if you're not going to fight for this, then what are you going to fight for? Like, what like, there is nothing to fight for if you don't care about somebody. I'm not going to fight for OSF Digital. Like, I'm not going to fight for Salesforce. I'm not going to fight for. I may have fought for Angie's List, actually. Angie's List, like the people, the leader, the stuff that we did together, like I would have maybe fought for Angie's List. I did fight for Angie's List. I fought myself for Angie's List, because I knew that when things were changed, and I was like, no, we could do this. Like, we could keep going. I didn't fight for Salesforce. I didn't fight for HC1, the company I worked for. As soon as I was like, you know what, no, I'm done with this, and I left multiple times.
Oh, you're frozen.
Are you frozen? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
But you know what I will fight for sure is clubbing. Like, I mean, I will fight for that. If we build something and somebody tries to take away people's ability to be themselves and live their core values and to express that and build meaningful relationships while doing meaningful work in this environment, I will fucking fight you for it.
Right, because right now we're uploading this to YouTube, right? And then YouTube say, hey, I don't like what you guys are saying. We're gonna cancel you. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stop to put it on the website. What are you gonna do? I ain't stopping. I ain't stopping for you. And then no one can tell us not to be able to be who we are and live the life that we want to live, because otherwise there's no point. You're missing the point.
You're missing the point. The point is to be who you are and to bring that out into this world and to share it with the world. And that's that. Like, and somebody tries to take that from you, then you better damn near be ready to fight. And I know for me, for France, like, I appreciate that they fight for wine and for food and for the culture that you described, and because they have an amazing culture, and so does America. Like, there's a reason why people want to come here, because we care. We'll fight for it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you're looking at like most of the people outside of America, they wish and dream of going to America. But there's people who are here, they're missing the point and they want to leave America. Well, you can go who you want, but you're not gonna have the same kind of culture, because you think you're entitled to the only one. I don't know about the only one, but the only one that I know of that fights for your human rights, your natural God-given rights, is America. Hey, regardless of what they say and how they do things, they don't have a constitution written to say, hey, this country here is protected by your God-given human rights.
We were built on an idea. Built on it. England was not built on an idea. Ireland was not built on an idea. Vietnam was not built on an idea, to my knowledge. It was just territories were drawn and they were like, here, this is Vietnam. You're like, these people are all similar.
Along with the history, there is not really a deliberate reason to form a tribe. You look in America, like from the beginning, it's a tribe of people. They left England because they say, well, I cannot take these culture. I can't practice my own religion. I can't be who I am. So I have to leave America, go across the world to start something new. And because they deliberately say, hey, I want to be able to express myself. This is why I came here. And yes, there are many things. So the core group of America itself has a deliberate purpose. Yes, and then over time, there are many people who come to America for personal gains in terms of commerce or whatever. But the core of America was built on a purpose, and that's why, to me, America is one of the countries that was built on that purpose and has written a constitution that still be upheld today to protect the natural God-given rights of a human person. And so you talking about Vietnam, talking about France, talking about Russia. This happens to, be able to separate themselves from many years of conquest or whatever. You're talking about Vietnam, right? They have Persian, because in Vietnam, it's like, they talk about Thailand, right? Thailand is right next to Vietnam, but they have Persian influence. And so many of those countries has been conquered by Mongolians and Persians and many. It just happens to be
pot of ideas.
It just happens to be the random chance of somebody stays in a certain group, but it has no purpose. It's just a random evolution. America was grouped together based on a purpose, and that's why I say this is the only one I know of that is written in the Constitution to protect it. And yes, there are certain concepts that we borrow from many other generations in other countries, but the purpose is deliberate. It wasn't like by accident.
I totally agree with you 1,000%. And the older that I get, the more proud I am to be an American. I think I've told you this before. You know, I've always called myself Italian my whole life, right? Like I'm an Italian American, right? And the first time that I ever went to Italy was 2017, I think. And always imagined in my mind, like, hey, these are my people, like my background, whatever. And I just thought it was going to be like this magical place, right? And don't get me wrong, it was a magical place. I fucking love Italy, like the actual country of Italy, like the people of Italy. I am not Italian. And I mean that in like a loving, very, very loving way. There's nothing about me that is Italian. I like working hard. I don't like what you just described of like the life of people that live in France. It actually bothers me because I like a little bit of meaningful. I like a little bit of play. They like a lot of play. The balance equation for me of a life of a Parisian or an Italian, or even what you described in the South Vietnamese or whatever, like that's too much play for me. I like to be focused. I love, instead of taking a second siesta in the middle of the day, I'd rather go play tennis and push myself and go run harder or something like that. I don't know. Like,
but no one is stopping you. No one is stopping you from doing anything.
I know.
But the thing is, you have to
be around. Go ahead. Yeah.
But I'm saying is they have to understand is, you know, to them that is their balance. That is what they.
I know.
It is the way.
That's their balance equation.
Their art. Your art is different. There's nothing wrong with you not saying, hey, you know, I don't resonate with the Italian way of life because you're different, and that's fine. And that's what we are trying to advocate. Is yes, because these are just examples of people who have taken an inventory of who they want to be, and this is what you see. And so you can even take that further and individualize that, because you say, well, I like tennis. I'm going to be around tennis players. So I can play tennis. If you like the beach, the oceans, or whatever, then you be around the beach. You know, the Mexican fisherman. I like to be near the water. I just jump in the water for like a few minutes and get out, and I enjoy that. Some people don't like the beach. Some people don't like nature. They like the city. You take somebody who is a city person, you take him to the country, and then they're like completely out of the element. And it's dirt. They can't take it. And somebody like, for example, you take me to the woods. Like this is home. I mean, I love nature. This is my personality. I love nature. Like a pig. You throw a pig into the mud pit. You say, "Oh!" We are advocating for you to inventory what is important to you, what it makes you, and what is your art, and you bring that to the maximum. We are giving you an example of what French did as an example of what they can become if they can just put a half effort into, you know, doing the things. And this is what you get. You get French food that is best in the world. French wine is probably best in the world as well. I don't know about French wine because I never, you know, drink, but
I mean, it's so good. I mean,
because the art comes out, and no one can beat you because
it's unbelievable. I mean, I don't know that there's any wine that I've ever had in my life that I'm just like, and I love wine. I've drank German wine, Portuguese wine, Spanish wine, Australian wine, New Zealand wine, Chilean wine, Argentinian wine, you know, American, even, you know, like our California wines and stuff like that, you know, that are supposed to be our best. Canadian wines. We've been to many, many vineyards in Canada. I've drank wines all over the world at this point in time and visited tours on wineries all over the world. Like I can promise you, without a doubt, nothing even comes close. I remember one of the Burgundy wine tastings we had in one of the little tasting rooms. This guy just gave us this private tasting of some of his Burgundy wines. And I remember him saying this thing that's always stuck with me. I think about this all the time. He goes, you know, the thing about the difference between French wines and American wines is, you know, we've forgotten more than you guys know at this point in time. And he was like, we know what to do. Like, you know, because we've been doing it for thousands of years. Like you guys are still only been making wine in California for a couple hundred years max. You know what I mean? Like this is something that we've been doing here for thousands of years, you know, like we know what we're fucking doing. We know everything about the soil, the terroir is what they call it, you know, what to expect, what the sun, like where it hits it, like whatever. They know everything about this stuff at this point in time. And I'm sure there's still more to learn, but like they've forgotten more than anybody in America has ever learned. You see this in cathedrals when you go visit Europe. They're 1,000-year-old. Notre Dame was built in the 1100s, I think, or something like that. America wasn't even formed until 1776. So for like 700 years before that, they were building cathedrals like Notre Dame in France. You know what I mean? Like you forget, you know, and that's even a joke to the Asian world, I'm sure, where it's like, what are you talking about? Building cathedrals in 1100? What were we doing in China and Japan and Thailand? These people know what they're doing. And that was one of the things that I always remember about France and wine is like they have been doing it for so long. They care so much about this. It is pure art to them. They know more than you will ever know. Like, just pretend you and I are doing clubbing stuff for
But
the
that's
rest
the
of our,
thing is, you know, when
800 years.
yeah, because when you do something for that long, you have to be aligned with it. You
Yes.
cannot sustain enough willpower for you to go through and hate what you do to able to sustain that long. So you have to love it so much that nothing compares to. So this is beavering on purpose. This is what I'm saying. You know, if you say, well, I yearn of a day when I am done, then I am telling you right now, that is not your art. Go find it.
Yeah,
right? That's not your art because you're wasting your time doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
So true.
I mean, think about it.
So true. You're
Because
right. Like,
if you tell me that, hey, no, you know, we're going to do this, and then whenever we're gonna do this until we have 365 or 400 or whatever. Thing is, that number has never crossed my mind, and I'm even hesitant to even want to even think of them because I don't want it to end. I want to say, hey, as long as I enjoy it, I want it to be, an ongoing thing versus whenever it stops. If you have ever thought about stopping doing what you want to do, then that is not your art. Even though you can do it and you can be good at it, it's still not your art. You can say, hey, I'm Michael Phelps, but I only swim because I need to swim, I need to win. But after I retire, I'm not swim again. Then that is not his art. He just forcing himself to do it. And so that is just a waste of your art. I mean, art is supposed to be, shared and be appreciated by other people.
Right.
You mean, and who you are is an expression.
Yep.
Right. And that expression is what we call art. And I think a lot of people miss the point. That's why I say, there's two America, quoting Bono, two America. The one that if you understand the ideals of America, right, you wouldn't have all these stupid comments in politics about this and that and the other. It's like, America is great. I mean, if you don't like America, that means you're missing the point. If it doesn't lie with you, then you may leave. But the thing is, you're not going to find another country like America. Yes, it has its issues. Like my daughters, like they fight, but that's the issue. But that is minor. I'm happy because they're fighting because they are prospering. They're not suffering. If they're suffering, then they won't fight. If America isn't prospering, if America is suffering, right? People won't fight each other. They're going to huddle together and say, well, I'm suppressed. I'm depressed and suppressed. I can't do anything. I'm all stressed out. But if you stress out yourself, right, that means that you are self-inflicting those pains onto yourself by feeling entitled to something that you're not, you're not supposed to have, taking things for granted.
Yep.
That's why the people who are, I'm not saying all foreigners understand this, but more foreigners understand this than
because they chose
the American that lives here. Because
you had an agency to choose to understand the idea and go, yes, I choose that idea. Like, I think that there's a big difference when you're born here. You don't choose it. Like, you may absorb the culture, but you don't choose it. So I think there's a lot of people that may go, I don't want to choose this culture. Fine, then don't choose this culture. Then get the fuck out of here. Like, we don't want you in our culture. If you don't believe in what we're trying to do, and like, we don't want you there. Like, why would anybody want somebody that, like, the Catholic Church doesn't necessarily, like, when somebody doesn't align with the Catholic Church,
kick you out.
They don't kick you out, but they're like, fine, get out of here. Like, you don't want to be a part of it, then don't come to church. Don't be a part of the community. I think Americans, speaking of somebody that was born in America, that was raised here, I think a lot of people that are in my boat would go, well, where am I supposed to go? I didn't choose this. And it's like, fine, then go find a place, choose a place that you want to go that aligns to who you want to be and go. Like, I mean, if you're that unhappy in this environment and these ideals, like, then go find a place, go research, go explore. Go find your fit.
No, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You just have to say, well, you're not aligned with a core value. That's fine. But that's why I say, hey, there's nothing wrong with not feeling like, hey, you belong here. If you don't belong here, then you find some other place you belong. That's what I'm saying is what you believe in, what you choose determines how happy you are.
Yes.
Because to me, America is the same to me as to you, but I'm happier than you. Even if you take me and you and give me exactly what you have and whatever, right? Same job, same house, same whatever, I will be happier than you because I see America differently because of the perspective I get and why we come here in the first place. If you as an American never question that, never say, what does America look like to you? We study American history, right? But the thing is, you don't get the insight of saying, that's why I keep saying, hey, when people say you don't have a choice, I keep saying, yes, you do. You always have a choice. Liberty or death, but you have a choice. This is the same thing I keep saying to everybody because I understood what that means.
Yeah, I do know what you mean because this is about Amelia. I do have a choice every single day of what I choose to do and don't choose to do, and I choose to do what I'm doing. I didn't choose it before her. Like she taught me this whole journey has taught me what I want to choose and what I don't want to choose, right? And there's so much
of choosing, exactly.
Right.
Was it that you said in the past about the difference between something is about, and you remember the circles about the stretch zone? What is it? Panic zone versus
panic, comfort, and stretch.
Stretch versus panic, right? The difference is the core value, whether you choose it or somebody forces to the core value or two. That's the difference. It's the choosing. The aspect of choosing make a big difference, whether you're in the panic zone or in the stress zone, right? And to me, that brings back to today as well. The ability to choose make a big difference on how happy you are, how you enjoy the little things that you take for granted, because it's just things that I mean, if you are not present in the moment of what the environment gives you, then you're not living in that moment. You're living somewhere else. Just like I told you, you go to the beach, but then you have all these stress about work or projects or whatever. Physically, you are in that environment, but your mind is somewhere else. Therefore, you miss the sunset. You miss the sea breeze. You miss, all the things that is around you. You are not there. The same thing with having a mindset of America or of where you live. If you don't have a presence in the environment, you will not appreciate it. That's why people will be saying, hey, America, my life sucks and it's miserable and blah, 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 I can't make more than $1 million. Like, how much money do you need? And then my neighbor is making 1.1 mil. I only make $1 million, and my wife does this and his wife does that. And then my husband does that. It's all these things that you compare to. It's like, well, the thing is, what do you need? How much do you need? How much do you need? Because it doesn't matter how much you get. You can say, hey, I want a fucking 1,000 pair of shoes or 100,000 dresses or whatever. It's never enough because it never satiated you. Man, you never satisfied because it wasn't what you needed. It wasn't what the cells in your body is looking for. Therefore, it yearns for it. You take it in and just pass through and say, well, I need more, I need more. But if you have give your cells exactly what it's asked for, you will be at peace. That means it's satisfied. And then when you're at peace, you will enjoy life.
Agreed. That's a good spot to end it on. The question we can leave with everybody is your work that you're producing today worth fighting for? I think that's an important question, because if it's not,
super important question, because you're wasting time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you don't care enough to fight for it, then it's pointless. It's literally pointless. You would fight for the opportunity to work in America, but maybe not fight for the company that you work for or something like that, but you still fight for the
opportunity. My ability to live here as a citizenship, I would not give away my citizenship for anything.
Right.
Because people say, hey, I'll go to Canada or whatever, like a bunch of people. It's like, well, I still stay here. But I'm saying is, for me, I like America and I like the freedom that America represents, and I will fight for that ideal and give away that.
I got the best story. For you. I know we just said I want to end it, but I have to share this. Like, one of my employees now is he resigned 2 weeks ago. He's from Algeria originally. He came to the States for college, and his first job out of school was this job. So I told you about this. He had the work visa. Talk about loving America so much. He loves America so much that to get his green card and to get it faster so he can continue to stay here because he doesn't want to leave. I offered him many different options, like go back home, move to Canada because we're a Canadian company, move somewhere else. And he's like, no, I don't want to move anywhere else. I want to live in America and I don't want to fucking be here. I want to be here. Like, I love this country and I want to stay here, and I want to make my life here and things like that. So he's willing to go work at McDonald's in Philadelphia for a year to get his green card. And literally I hear that and I go, the first thought that came to my mind when he told me that, I was like, what are you fucking talking about? You're gonna go move to another city that you don't know anybody in to work at McDonald's for a year of your life, And he goes, yeah, I think and not only that, he's gonna pay $20,000. And I go, do you really love this country that much to want to stay here, like to do that? And he goes, yeah, I think I do. And I was like,
that's a big difference from your perspective. That's F up, right? But from his perspective, this is great. Like, I mean, it's like, I'm happy to do it. He's gonna be happy working at a McDonald's, right? That's a big difference. It's perspective. He chooses it. He chooses to be here, right?
He is,
and so when you say, hey, work at McDonald's, paying 20 grand to work at McDonald's, okay, cool, right? But for us who has been entitled, we say that's messed up.
My mind was literally blown when he said that to me. And the more that I think about it, though, like the more that I'm thinking about exactly what,
right?
Right. Like when you're willing to fight for something you really love, that means you really love it, right? That means that you're willing to,
But because when you fight for something that you love, you enjoy it, even though in that same scenario, you're gonna curse your life. He is going to say, thank you, God, for even give me this solution to even stay here, right? So one person is having a life, the blast, right? And one guy is cursing his life because you were forced to work at McDonald's and paying 20 grand.
And to be clear, this guy, once we get Culinary scholarships available, like he'll be one of our first recipients of it. Like, I mean, and I'm gonna be happy to do that too, because he's the guy that I always tell you about, like watches our podcast and follows, like every time we would have one-on-one. I'm gonna really miss working with him because it's sad. I'm actually sad that he's going to be not doing this stuff, but we can still like mentor him. I told him to come onto these things, and have conversations with us or whatever, whenever he wants, and he probably will. You'll probably meet him eventually, but I think that's a great way to end this though, of just saying like, when you really care about something, you're worth fighting for it.
You wouldn't trade it for the world. That's what I'm saying. And whenever you have found who you are in your art, there's nothing in the world that you would not trade for, even your life. This is why I said liberty or death, but you have a choice.
You have a choice, right? We talked about this so many times. It's like my tennis playing. Every single person says, well, you're in pain, just stop. Like, I'm like, Nazim, you're gonna work at McDonald's, just stop, man. He's like, no, I'm not. That doesn't make any sense. Why would I stop? And I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't want to stop. Why would I stop? I'm not gonna fucking stop. Fuck you. I'll figure out another path, and I'll be happy to figure out another path.
And you're willing to pay for it.
Yeah, I'll go to a doctor.
You work extra jobs to pay for the 20 grand, or to go to a doctor. You do whatever it takes to continue to be allowed to be who you want to be, who you are, who you're supposed to be.
Right.
And that is important. That's why the question is very poignant, because are you doing something worth fighting for? Because if you don't, then you're wasting your time. And that's a shame, because eventually you have so short of time to enjoy who you are and produce the art that you're supposed to produce.
Great. All right. I think that's a good place to end it on. My wine is out for my French wine and war, and it's time to go to bed. Thanks for joining, and we will see you all tomorrow night.
Good night.